Good evening. How everyone doing today? God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma Jazz Spirit Divine. I'm here to give you a word on today, and the topic gonna be Hezekiah. Get your house in order. Hezekiah was a faithful king. And he was faithful to God also. So he walked with God with his whole heart. You know, and he was devoted to God. Hezekiah become ill. But he prayed to God and he asked God to remember him, that he had done what is good in his eyesight. So Hanukkah was told to get your house in order. That's a little short brief of Hanukkah. So this pack is coming from Second King, chapter 20, verse 1 through 11. Hanukkah was a faithful king and he was a righteous man. Now he walked with God, with his whole heart. And then Hanukkah became sick, at a point of death. So now the prophet Isaiah, him and Isaiah was real close, have a message to give to Hanukkah, from God. You know, um, the Lord said, put your house in order because you are going to die. You will not recover. And we're gonna see how things can how things can change when you pray. Because we're gonna see how powerful prayers already are. Prayers can move mountains. He said you will not recover, you will die. But we're gonna see how prayers can move mountains. Now these days, if someone tell us, get your house in order, you are going to die, we will break down and cry all day long. Hanukkah, he didn't do all that. Hanukkah turned his face towards the wall and he prayed to God. Because see, Isaiah brought that message to him. Isaiah also was a prophet, and God sent that message to Isaiah to give to Hanukkah. So Hanukkah prayed to the Lord to remember him. Now he had walked before. He had walked before God faithfully and with his whole heart, being devoted. He have done what is good in his eyesight. Then Hanukkah prayed. After he prayed, then he wept. It just not had sucked in. Because see, when Isaiah read the message to him, it didn't really suck in yet for him to cry and weep. He just turned around and prayed. And afterwards then he wept. Hanukkah prayed and he remind God that of I'm one of your righteous, So he praying, he talking to God. He telling God, God, I'm one of your righteous men. I'm very faithful to you. Remember me. I'm your prophet. I've been faithful to you this whole time. I have done good in your eyesight. So now he talking these things to God. He's telling God to remember him. So that's what we have to do when we receive bad news. Don't call when you receive bad news. Don't be the first thing you do is call someone. The first thing you should do is turn around, get in the corner. However, Hanukkah turned his face towards the wall. He just started praying. That's the first thing you do when you receive bad news. Not so quick to pick up a phone and call someone. Because you call someone, they cannot help you. So turn your head towards the wall and pray to God to turn your situation around. That's what Hanukkah did. Even though he heard terrible news, that you will die, you will not recover. He didn't just stood up there in Isaiah's face and just start crying and weep. He turned around and he started praying to God because he know he's a righteous man. He been faithful, to God. He been devoted to God. He know how prayers is very powerful. So now before Isaiah can leave, God said, go back to Hanukkah. Because see, God had answered him quick. Before Hanukkah, before Isaiah can leave, God hurried up and told him, no, go back. Go back to tell Hanukkah that I have heard your prayers, and seen your tears. Because remember, after he finished praying, he turned around, then he started weeping. I will heal you, you know, and see how I'm saying. Prayers can move mountains. Prayers can turn things around. Sometimes it might take a long time, and sometimes it might take a short time. And in this case, this here was quickly before Isaiah can even get in any further. God had told him to go back. So now we see that God moved quickly. He answered Hanukkah prayers and told Isaiah to go back and tell him what I said. So now God said, he gonna heal him. Because at first he said, you will not recover. You will not recover. But now we see that God said he gonna heal him because he heard his prayers and he seen his tears. Now God said, I will heal you on the third day from now. You will go up to the temple of the Lord, and I will add 15 years to your life. There you go. Prayers. Prayers. He turned his face towards the wall, and he just started praying. No matter what a doctor tell you, the doctor say you're going to die, you're not going to live. You turn your face towards the wall, towards a corner, however it takes, and you start praying and watch how prayers will move mountains. Watch how prayers can turn a situation around. You know, so in a bad situation, the lawyer, the doctor, or anything that you're dealing with, the first thing you ought to do is pray. Don't be so quick to call people. That's how I used to be. But now I don't even try to pick up the phone and call nobody. I already lift my own self up. Pray and lift yourself up. You know. Now God said, now first Hanukkah he was gonna die. He was not gonna be recovered. But now we see that he's not gonna die. That God gonna add 15 years on to his life. Because he asked God to remember him. So we see that God did remember him and add 15 more years on to his life. So now someone was about to die, and now 15 years is added on to his life. And before he was gonna die, God told him to get his house in order. Told him to get his house, and that was the first time a person can ever be prepared. Prepare for his death. So get your house in order. Get everything in order because you will not recover. So he didn't run home first, get his house in order. He turned around and prayed. Praying is the first thing that you have to do in any kind of situation. So we see that prayers are very powerful, can move mountains. Hanukkah was very faithful, and good in prayer. He was a righteous man. So we see that God answered his prayers quickly, and add 15 years on to his life when he wasn't supposed to recover. So first God said he would die, he would not recover. But Hanukkah prayed, and his situation got turned around. Got turned around for the good. You know, turned around for the good. Got 15 years added on to his life. You know, 15 years been added on to his life. Now God also said, I will deliver you in this city from the hand of the king Ezra, because he was a good prophet, you know, fighting and all this kind of stuff. He was in a mix of war and all this kind of stuff. And then when he got sick, so God said, I'm gonna deliver you to this king, because he needed his life. He still was fighting battles, you know. So Isaiah said, prepare for a fig and apply it to your barrel, and he'll be recovered. So must have had some kind of a hold of something, because it said he's gonna place a lot of them fruit back in the Bible, back in the day, was healing stuff. Just fig was some kind of healing stuff that they're gonna have to apply on his barrel, and he will recover. So now, since God told him, I'm gonna heal you, you will be recovered. Now Hanukkah, he still needs some kind of insurance. He's still not fully believing because he was near death and was told he was not going to recover. So now he going to want God to give him a sign. If God say he going to heal you, he's gonna add 15 years on, believe it. Just live your life, you know. But he needs some kind of insurance. He needs God to send him a sign. You know how he gonna do it, when he gonna do it. So now God already healed Hezekiah. But when he applies the fig on his brow, but Hezekiah want God to give him a sign. You know, um, on the third day he will be healed. So he want to make sure on the third day if he gonna be healed. He not taking God's word when God said you will be healed. So Hezekiah answer, this is the Lord's sign, you know, to you that the Lord would do what he had promised. And that's what Isaiah telling him. He said on the third day you're gonna be healed. So that's what if God said on the third day you're gonna be healed, you're gonna be healed. So Isaiah telling him the Lord's sign to you is that the Lord would do what he had promised. So God promised to heal you. God promised to give you 15 more years onto your life. You shouldn't try to have him to give you a sign to be assured of what he said he gonna do. So now this sign to Hezekiah, this is a sign that God would do what he had promised. The Lord made a shadow, to go back 10 steps. He had gone down the stairway, so God shutting everything down, for Hezekiah to show him that you will be, 15 years will be added on to your life. On the third day, you will be healed. So a sundial at a particular letter and one hemisphere must be reversed. So God about to reverse everything on stand still, just to give him a sign. You know, for him, he need insurance. But use at the opposite lantern on the other hemisphere, the vertical direct south sundial. In the northern hemisphere become a vertical direct north set down in the south. So all this stuff that God got to show to him, for him to believe that he will be healed. So now if Hezekiah see this sign, if Hezekiah see all this stuff, if he see this sign that he are healed. So God moved things, reversed things in a sundial only for Hezekiah. You know, he never did that before. He did that just for him. He needs some kind of insurance. So one, we see that Hezekiah was a good and faithful prophet. He was very devoted to God. And two, and then all of a sudden he got sick. All of a sudden he got sick and he was going to die and not recover. And he also was in the mix of a war. So he mixed in a war. He like, I need to live. You know, and so three, Hezekiah turned away. So when he received all this bad news from Isaiah, he turned his head towards the wall, nothing, and just start praying. Just start praying, telling God to remember him. I'm your righteous prophet. I'm very faithful. I'm very devoted to you. Remember me, God. So he telling him, remember him. So God answered his prayers, quickly. And sometimes your prayers don't get answered quickly, but in his case, his prayer got answered quickly. Before Isaiah can leave completely, God had told him to go back. You know, so he prayed and told God to remember all the good deeds and being faithful to him. And we see that God did remember him. God remembered the good prophet that he are, and get add 15 years on to his life. So we see that God remembered him and told him to go and put your house in order. You know, no, that's the first thing he did when he was going to die. I'm sorry. When he was going to die, God, Isaiah said that God said, go put your house in order. Put your house in order because you're going to die. You're not going to recover. But we see that God remember him. God added 15 years on to his life. And we see how prayers had turned the whole situation around. So we see that prayers work. Prayers work. They do reach out to God. Sometimes it reach out to God quickly, and sometimes he'll answer a long time, like it took 430 years for the Israelites that cried out to him. He do things quickly, and sometimes he do things at his own pace. So we see that prayers work. No need to call no one. You don't need to call no one. Even if you, even if the doctor say you're gonna die, don't call no. Don't make the first phone call to your family. To your children, whatever. Make that first phone call to God. Make that first phone call to God. That's what Hezekiah did. He turned around and made a first phone call to God. He prayed to God and he asked God to remember him. You know. So when bad news hit you, just turn to God and pray. I know some of y'all used to just calling people on the phone. Girl, just let me tell you what happened. No, you turn around to God and you pray to God. Ask God to remember you. You know, that's what Hanukkah did. He said, "Remember me. I'm your righteous prophet." Say and watch how God will move mountains. You know, and God said, "Go and put your house in order." So now we see Hanukkah got healed, and he also got 15 years added on to his life. From being a faithful prophet, being devoted to God, and he had to let God know. He had to remind God, remember me. Don't forget, I'm one of your good prophets. I'm one of your righteous, been devoted, faithful, and God remember. So but he also add 15 years on to his life when he wasn't even supposed to recover. So when God make a promise and say he will do something, believe it. Don't ask God to give you a sign. He lucky. He still got the 15 years added on because he wasn't really assured. He wanted God to give him all kind of signs so he can be real sure that he got 15 years added on and that he gonna be here on the third day. You know. So Hanukkah didn't believe but asked for a sign. You know. So God never break a promise. Believe when God said you're here. That's just like that woman. That woman touched the clothes. At that moment, she believed that she was here. So when you in, when God tell you, I'm gonna heal you on the third day. Add 15 years on to your life. Believe it. Don't ask for a sign. Don't get discouraged. Don't have a doubt. If somebody tell you you're gonna be here, believe you're gonna be here. Add 15 years on that, believe it. Still get your house in order. Because when he was dying, remember God told him to get his house in order. But now you got 15 years add on, but still get your house in order. You know, we still have to keep our house in order. You know, still have to keep our house in order because sometimes it won't be our preparation. The next time he had a preparation. He was dying, and God said, "Go get your house in order." Some of us don't have that preparation, don't have that time to get things ready. Sometimes things just happen quickly. But he was prepared. God allowed him to be prepared. Go get your house in order because you're not gonna recover. Some of us don't have the opportunity to get things in order. We have to get things in order now, because things can happen quickly. Because all Hezekiah know he was a good prophet. He fighting in the mix of war and all this kind of stuff, protecting the Israelite, and then all of a sudden he got sick. So things can happen all of a sudden. You know, to good people, bad people. It happened. But we don't have to be quick to pick up a phone and call nobody. You get bad news, you get good news. Even if you get good news, just still praise God. It's so much good and bad happen with me. I still never pick up the phone and be calling nobody. You know, because you still have you have to still pray to God because you call somebody, what they can do? They can't help you. All they can do is pray right along with you. And you can pray by yourself because we see how Hanukkah turned his face towards the wall. He had somebody to pray for him. He prayed for himself and asked God to remember him, and God remembered him at 15 years old. So this practice is like prayers is very powerful, and prayers can move mountains. You know, and things happen to good people also. You know, he was a good prophet. a good prophet to God. We don't know why this sickness came on him, and he was a good prophet, but we know he was a righteous man. He was very faithful to God, and then all of a sudden he got sick. You know, this all the word I have for you on today, and always, he was prepared. He wasn't prepared, but God allowed him to be prepared to get his house in order. And we also can do that now because we see with Hanukkah, fighting war and doing all kinds of stuff. Then all of a sudden he got sick. That can happen to any one of us. So in the meantime, we can still get our house in order, because things can happen so quickly, but things can change quickly, once you start praying, because prayers can turn situation around, prayers can move mountain, so y'all have a blessed day, and I see y'all in the next video.